Hey man, Cactus Jack, we gotta talk about this shit. The now famous record label formed in 2017 by Travis Scott is really showing what a failure in the experimentation in the music industry looks like, man. From the rise and the fall, it shows that only a couple of artists are really succeeding, and the vast majority of the people who sign to that label are pretty much dead and gone, man. We're gonna get into the rise and fall of Cactus Jack Records, man, and what could be done to save these artists' career. But before we do, I'm gonna need y'all to like, comment, subscribe. We're gonna run up this video. Make sure y'all check out the merch link in the description. So let's get it, man. Yo, so this reminds me of like a conversation that I recently saw on DJ Academics and DJ Vlad, where they basically talk about the record industry, and they say that only 1 out of 10 artists that get signed is really gonna succeed. And it definitely shows in this. When you look at Cactus Jack, the only person that ever succeeded was Don Toliver, man. And I use that loosely because he just got caught up in a whole scandal having to do with bots basically promoting his music and shit from their larger company Atlantic that sort of distributes Cactus Jack's music and shit like that. So I mean, as a whole, it's not looking very good for them, man. But we could go all the way back in 2017 when this first fucking started. 2017 is when it started, right? So then Astroworld came out in 2018, and that was sort of everyone's introduction to Don Toliver. I think I previously had heard him before. He had like an independent project that came out, and I think he ended up selling the rights to Cactus Jack. But that was sort of like his introduction. Around that same time, Sheck West sort of blew up with Mo Bamba, and then that sort of has carried his career even further. The rest of the people that were featured on the Jack Boys, now infamous project, like Luxury Tax 50, have basically been dead and gone. Luxury Tax 50 only has 6,000 monthly listeners now. If you look at Sheck West, for instance, his career, he still has 5 million monthly listeners. That's cool, from that song Mo Bamba. But unfortunately, this dude Sheck West has not dropped a project in over 5 years. Bruh, he dropped Mo Bamba, and then he dropped a project following that, the Mudboy project, and it's been 5 years later. Like, this nigga notched Frank Ocean or some shit. He should have been dropped from now. We could look at the same type of instance with Sofago, who recently is like the newest member of Cactus Jack that basically got fucked out of a career on top of this shit. He really was blowing up around that same time too, and then he made a peak pinnacle movement in 2020 when he dropped his song Off the Map, and it sort of just blew up independently. And then he signed to Cactus Jack a little bit after that and sold the rights to, I think, the rest of his old music, which brings him to how he is today. It basically, from that point, it took damn near 3 years for him to drop his first project. He dropped some EPs in the middle, and then in that 3 years, you would think that it would, blow up because people wanted it that bad. But then in the long run, he only sold like less than 5,000 copies, man. They're saying around 2,000 copies, which honestly, if music in numbers doesn't really mean that the music is bad or good or anything like that, but when you're signed to a label, it shows that if you're selling that much, the label is not fucking marketing you right, and on top of that, that's your whole livelihood. It's a lot different. The stakes are way higher when you're signed to a label and shit, because at the end of the day, the label's gonna have to recoup that money, and it's gonna take fucking forever for them to recoup that shit if that dude sold fucking 2,000 first week, especially because the first week is usually, for most artists, when they get the bulk of their plays. So the fact that it fucking took that long, 3 years damn near, for him to drop some shit, and he did, and it flopped horribly, man, it's sad. Like, I'm not trying to make fun of these dudes because I love their music and I was a huge fan of the Cactus Jack movement, but their careers basically got derailed. Part of the reason why I think it got derailed was the whole Astroworld tragedy, on top of everything else that occurred throughout the Astroworld history. But the Astroworld tragedy definitely left a whole year basically that people were not trying to listen to anything regarding Travis Scott, and it even affected everyone that was signed there. And then I think they're just now recovering from that shit, and by the time that they recovered, I mean, like, look, like Sheck West wasn't able to drop for so long. I think it might be, besides the fact that he has some cool songs, but it just creates a area of like one hit wonders. That is something that's totally not planned, and it's like I wish he wasn't, because the dude has fire ass other tracks that people just don't even know. But I really feel like the label's holding them back as a whole. And on top of it too, there's this notion that when you sign to a rapper, do you really think the rapper's gonna want you to be bigger than him? I mean, I wouldn't say that's the case for Travis Scott, but I feel like a lot of people saw him in a different light after the Astroworld shit, and probably saw him as more selfish type shit. And it could be the case, you know? If Cactus Jack was a money grab type of situation, then it definitely is successful. Like, he definitely made hella bread off that shit. He definitely made bread at the expense of these artists, which is basically probably what happened to Travis in his career. But if we're trying to see success in terms of did these artists do well, it's definitely showing not really, man. And they definitely got paid in their advance and shit for their projects, but it's like that money after the advance check, like, it's probably like drying up by now, you know? Unless you're really doing numbers on some shit and you have a real fan base, kind of like Don Toliver, which barely any of those other people really have, then you're probably doing bad, man. On top of the fact that, when is the last time you've ever seen Sheck West tour? It's good that Sofago is finally touring. I saw he's on a Knob tour, which is good, but it's like, bruh, this should have been happened, you know? Like, and he should have been dropped. So it's just kind of sad seeing everything come together like this. It just kind of shows like the music business is kind of like an oxymoron, because music is art, and then they're trying to profit off of art, but it's not always that straightforward, because the process of art isn't always the same, and the process of releasing it isn't always going to work, man. 9 times out of 10, I feel like these labels end up losing every like investment that they made in these artists. So it's like, in the long run, it's not even worth it, because if you're gonna wait on the label this whole time and then just be shelved just to not release shit, it's down bad, man. So it's gonna be difficult to see what happens. I know Don Toliver will probably survive, hopefully. I mean, he makes a different type of music that people can enjoy, but the bot situation definitely didn't help. I feel like Sheck West, if he doesn't become independent, then his career is basically over. But, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if he makes like a revamp, you know, like how Tyga did, where they come back and then they go harder again. Maybe most of the time that happens is because they get out of their deals and then they're able to drop consistently. That's what I feel like Sheck West needs to do. Honestly, Don Toliver, I feel like he's probably in the best position right now with Cactus Jack, and he could just ride it and be okay. So Fago, on the other hand, it's so crazy because his career has just started. Like, he's only 19, so I don't really feel like his career is over. But if he doesn't do anything fast and make some different decisions, man, his career is just about donezo, because it's like you're just killing the momentum, and everyone has such a short attention span nowadays that no one really wants to listen to shit unless it's something that has movement to it. And it's people sort of talk about how rap is so fickle, and like the fans all listen to one thing, and then when they get that one thing, like that's who they're gonna listen to and shit. But really, it's like people just see the momentum and the numbers rising, and they don't want to take the time to find a new artist. They just want to see something that's already fire that they know is good, man. So that's the case with Sofago. I feel like eventually he's gonna have to be independent, because not every situation works with a label, and these artists might say differently, but they know deep down what the case is. They can see the numbers just like we do, and they definitely feel some type of way, man. But hey, let me know in the comments if I'm wrong, what y'all think about that shit, man. Real say shit. You already know what's going on. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe. Yes sir. Peace.